Welcome to the series where I test out the Osrs wiki money making guides. I started this series almost a year ago, and since then we've tried out multiple methods even if they're a little silly, such as picking bananas or even flax. If you enjoy these types of videos, then feel free to check out the playlist that I've made for them, and feel free to leave a suggestion down in the comments for a method that you'd like to see tested. With that being said, let's get into the video. So for today's moneymaker, we have something that is a little dangerous. This is going to be done in the wilderness, so if you do want to try this out, just make sure you don't bring anything you aren't willing to lose. Now this is another moneymaker that was requested quite some time ago. The first suggestion was from about 8 months ago, so it has been some time, and here we are doing it. Now there isn't an Osrs wiki money-making entry on the list, but that's just fine. I still think it is a worthwhile moneymaker to at least try out and see how much money we can make, so we'll be doing that today. And right at the start, I just want to say that it is highly recommended to have the Wilderness Elite Diary done before trying this, because that'll give you access to a sword that gives you infinite teleports to where we need to go. Now of course you don't need the Wilderness Elite Diary done, but again it just greatly helps with this moneymaker. Now throughout this video I'll be showing how I charged these glories for 1 hour, but again you can change up the gear setup or maybe even change how many glories you want to bring per run depending on how comfortable you feel being in the wilderness, because again this is a very dangerous zone and we will be in high level wilderness, upwards of 50 wild. So as for the gear setup, I decided to bring the Din's Bulwark along with the Serpentine Helm and some Black D'hide for some defensive bonuses. The Din's Bulwark is very powerful, and the Serpentine Helm also has some nice defense bonuses, but the most important thing about that is that it'll protect us from venom. I'm also bringing a max cape for its helpful teleports, but obviously not everyone is going to have a construction cape or a crafting cape. So if you don't have that, you can always use someone else's player-owned house for the teleports. Just keep in mind that it'll probably be more dangerous since it'll be more easy to predict where you're going to be at whenever you're using someone else's house. Now as for the inventory, I have the Wilderness Sword, which gives us the infinite teleports to the area that we need to be in, and the rest is just glories, which again, it's up to you whether you want to bring a full inventory of glories or not. With this defensive gear setup that I brought, I was thinking it might not even be worth it, because if I were to get teleblocked or frozen right at the start where I charge the glories, I don't think I would be able to make it all the way to the obelisk to get out of there. And what I found out is that in this gear setup I was pretty heavy. I think I was over 40 kilograms, so I was only able to make 2 trips before I had to go back to my player-owned house and use the Ornate Rejuvenation Pool. So if you're not gonna bring any food like I did here, then it might not even be worth bringing this highly defensive armor, since it does add weight and it will reduce the amount of trips you can do before you need to restore your stamina. But if you're not using an Ornate Rejuvenation Pool and you're using stamina doses, that might mitigate that a little bit. Stamina potions will ultimately lead to more glorious charge, since you don't have to go to your player-owned house to restore with the Ornate Rejuvenation Pool, so you cut down on load times from that, but you are going to be spending a little bit of extra money on those stamina doses. Now like I said before, I didn't bring any food with me, but I was debating whether I should. At first I was going to bring around 3 Ceridome Brews and maybe 1 Super Restore, but I just decided to opt for full risk for full reward, I guess you could say. I wanted to charge as many glories as possible, and you can actually charge more than the 27 here. Obviously if I didn't bring the Din's Bulwark, then I could have just wielded the sword and brought 28 glories instead. And also any jewelry that you're wearing is also recharged, so theoretically you could recharge 29 glories if you chose to wear one of them. So if you're not using a cape or a wilderness sword to get to these areas, then I guess the next best teleport would be to either use the obelisk or use Anakarl. Although these places are more dangerous, I know Anakarl can be a very popular PKing spot, so just be careful if you are using that. Now the teletabs are very expensive, so again I'd highly recommend using someone else's player-owned house and using the teleports in there and the pool in there. But just be careful, because it's really easy to get scouted there, and if that's your method of doing this moneymaker, then it'll be really easy to know that you're going to be on world 330, unless you have someone else's house that is logged into a different world, then you have a better chance of not being spotted. So if I didn't have the Crafting Guild teleport on this max cape, then I would have just chose to wear an Amulet of Glory and use that to teleport to Edgeville, since there's a bank very close by, And like I said, Every time you use this Fountain of Rune, it charges all of the glories, not just the ones in your inventory, so you'll have infinite teleports on that one that you're wearing. Also, I'm sure you've noticed by now, but there has been a white dot next to the Fountain of Rune. Pay no attention to that character, for he is helping us out during this 1 hour. That will be the scout for the video, and that was just to help me out as I was teleporting there, because it's really easy to log out while you're running. As soon as you see a white dot, you can just hit that logout button, and as you can see, I had it open the entire time. But I think the most dangerous part is probably logging into that area or teleporting to that area, because you don't know if someone's going to be there. But again, you can always have that cursor over the logout button as well. Now, one of the very exciting things about this moneymaker is not only being under constant fear that you're going to get attacked, but the chance at getting the Amulet of Eternal Glory. Now, that is a 1 in 25,000 chance to get that, and it is valued at around 37 million GP right now, so it is very high. And overall, if you decide to do this moneymaker for long periods of time, and if you get the Amulet of Eternal Glory on drop rate, this can be a very, very nice moneymaker when you factor in how expensive it is. Now, of course, you're going to need some startup cash because buying the glories isn't cheap. It did take a long time for these glories to buy because I wanted to make sure that I was going to make actual profit on here. Of course, you can increase the price at which you buy them at. Of course, you'll be losing out on potential profits that you can make in the future. So go ahead and just do what I did and leave an offer in overnight. That way you can buy them at a lower price. And of course, make sure you do a price check on these glories to make sure that it is still a viable moneymaker. And as for the world that I used, skill total worlds can be nice, but I feel like they are more targeted, and I feel like the people that PK there are more skilled. So as you can see here, I was using world 369, and it is marked as the wilderness world. So again, it doesn't really matter what world you use, just make sure that you hop around if you do see other PKers. And I'm very excited to say that we did not see a single PKer at this spot, but the scout actually did get attacked the minute after I was done. I was taking a screenshot for the thumbnail, and I just happened to get attacked by a pure account. So this is definitely not 100% safe. Always make sure that you are ready to log out. But as you can see here, we did manage to make 1728 of these Amulet of Glories. So not a bad amount. I was expecting to make a lot less than that. But now we can go ahead and head over to the GE to sell these bad boys off. I'm going to put it in there for a price that I found to be suitable. I did a price check and I found out that this was going to sell. And honestly, you can make more money than this because it only took about 30 minutes for all of the glories to sell, which was a lot faster than I thought it was going to take. So feel free to put it in there for at least market price or maybe even a little bit over that and let them sell overnight. But with all the glories sold, we got around 21.5 mil, so we can now go ahead and calculate how much total profit we made from this 1 hour. So if we calculate the total cost of supplies, which was just the uncharged glories, we get 20,476,800 GP. Subtract that from the money that we made, which was 21,551,616 GP. We get a grand total profit of 1,074,816 GP. So over a million GP per hour. I'd say it's a very good moneymaker. And this isn't even factoring in the chance at getting the Eternal Glory. So if we were to keep this consistent rate of charging, what was it, like 1728 of these glories, it would take us around 14.5 hours to get on drop rate for that Eternal Glory. And with the price of the Eternal Glory being around 37 million right now, that is an extra, I'd say 2.5 million GP per hour. So if you add that onto what we already had, you're looking at a pretty nice moneymaker. You can get around 3.6 million GP per hour. Now, this is RNG based, but assuming you get it on drop rate, this is a pretty good moneymaker. Just remember that it is highly risky. And who knows, maybe some of you might even get lucky and get it in your first hour. If that is the case, then you just made yourself an extra 38 mil. So yeah, it's worth checking out. I just want to say thanks for checking out the video, and if you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a thumbs up and maybe even a subscription. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next episode.